I wish that remasters were banned. 'Cause now I have to play them again. They took a dump and didn't flush. So now the dookie is overflowing. I'd rather play amazing games. But nobody listens to me. I'm the boringest gamer you've never heard. I'm an unpopular nerd. I wrote this song in Microsoft Word. I'm the fruit in doggy turd. What are my thoughts? I'm gonna turn down the volume for myself so I can hear myself a little better. Actually, I'll just turn it down all the way. Screw it. Honestly, I have some mixed thoughts about this. I think I gotta play the second game, the original second game, and compare it to this one. And the differences I saw were very minute. I only played technically 6 stages and 2 bosses, but I didn't see anything that was different aside from paint job stuff. Very simple aesthetics. Changing out some of the enemies, removing all references to the movie. But otherwise, I think, you know, all of the nerd letters were in the same place. Enemy placements seem to be the same. Even the instant death blocks, I didn't see any of them being replaced with just spike balls. I think they were all pretty much the same. And so, as far as I'm aware, very minor differences between the original and this being remade. Of course, there is the normal difficulty, which will give you infinite lives instead of having a 50 life system or a 30 life system, etc., etc. That is different. Now, the first game, I believe, there were quite a bit more changes. The graphics were repolished. I remember in the video it says that the backgrounds were redone. I didn't really talk about that in the Let's Play. If I had to take a knock-on-wood guess, I don't know that, like, the secret characters, the nerd letters, I'd assume that didn't change at all. But what I think they did change, aside from just the infinite lives retry system, making that simple and no issues there, is that they took out a lot of the instant death blocks and replaced them with just one-hit obstacles. Which, both games, when I looked on Steam, had about the same review percentages, about 90, very close to each other. So, I think it's a good idea that they gave more difficulty options, made it easier with infinite retries. Because, like, that was a big focus for them, was we want to expand the game to more players, be mindful of those who aren't used to older games, who might still want to enjoy the AVGN, Angry Video Game Nerd, because you can enjoy his content and not have grown up with the NES, necessarily. Load of soap pop. But you'd still want to play the game. And honestly, with all the references to the AVGN, you might as well let me rephrase that. For those who are big fans of the AVGN, Angry Video Game Nerd, I don't know why I keep shorthanding it. I'm thinking of my review. I'm going to shorthand it when I type it out. For those who are big fans, they will get the references. They'll, you know, chuckle. They'll, like, I recognize them and that reference. And if you reduce the difficulty cap, again, you open it up to more people, more players are able to beat the game without having to beat their head against the wall, try, lose all of their lives, and then have to start over at the very beginning. But there are the range of difficulty options for those who play the originals, enjoy the difficulty, or those who want to challenge themselves. Maybe they try it on the normal setting at first, you know, introduce themselves to the game. Maybe go for all the secrets and the hidden things. 100% of the games. And it's like, okay, let's bump up the difficulty a little bit. Let's put in a limited number of lives. Less checkpoints. I think that might be the case. I don't know if there are less checkpoints. Unless it's... I know the very hardest difficulty is no death, which is just insane. 1 life throughout the whole game. Oof. But, I can see this being very appealing. However, on the first game, though they did make several changes, especially in comparison to the second one, there are things that they left the same, which, again, it's like, why is that there? I find some of the stage design kind of perplexing or sort of confusing. There are times where it's like, that's a secret. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts. I go up there, secret. I go over here, secret. And then there are times where it's like, okay, I've got a fork in the road. I can go this way or that way. Which way is the intended direction to go? And which way is the secret? I couldn't always tell. Excuse me. And then there were times, especially in one of the early levels, I think it was the very first one, where a very strange scroll effect where it's like I would keep mashing the A button, trying to jump, see if I can make the nerd jump higher. And it's like, what in the world is going on here? I obviously can't jump up there, or I can't jump from this area it's too low. There's a jump to get to a secret area. It's very obvious you can go from one side to the other, but the ceiling, there's a wall that's in the way. So there's no way you can clear it, and you can't do a double jump. So it's like, okay, that's not gonna work. So I went back down to the screen just below it and tried to see if I could jump up from the bottom. You know, do a screen transfer and jump up there. It didn't work, but what I found out was very strange, where if I got a max jump, and I swear if I was mashing the A button, sometimes he'd kick his feet, but whatever. That didn't seem to work. But if you hold up while you're jumping, it will force the screen to transition up, even though you shouldn't have enough height to get it. And then if you keep holding up, you'll fall back down and instant die. It's an instant kill because you're falling into a bottomless pit. But if you let go of the up, you'll fall back down and you'll go back to where you were. Very strange. And again, that's just a strange little glitch or an oversight, but I guess that's just kind of an example of strange stage layout or level design. The other thing I thought was very screwy about the game, excuse me, was the boss design. I thought it was very off-kilter, a little pretty unbalanced, because every boss, at least on the normal setting, has healing items, which I think kind of goes against the spirit of these games a little bit. And what I mean by that is, it kind of annoys me that these bosses are designed in a way that they can be very frustrating in some cases. And so it's like, I'm just going to tank several hits because its pattern is really screwy or it's really unpredictable. That's what I noticed when I fought against Hyde. When Hyde jumped, seemed to be kind of random. When he used his attack, seemed kind of random. Whether he did a really big jump or a more moderate jump, it seemed kind of random. I tried different distancing from the boss, but it didn't really seem to matter that much. But what was even more interesting to me is that how long Hyde would stay in that transformed state until he got tired and went to Jekyll where you could blast the heck out of him. That also seemed to be random. So sometimes you'd get a combination or a pattern where you just had to dodge 2 attacks, really easy, and then you gotta blast away at him and almost kill him in one go. At least during more than halfway. And other times it's like, okay, Okay, Hyde, come on! Go to Jekyll! Go to Jekyll! So, Hyde was one of the difficult ones, and then the green floating head was another difficult one. And again, for me, it was because the patterns, I couldn't really figure out what was going on. The green head seems like, at first, it'll do a figure 8, well, sideways figure 8, technically an infinity symbol, pattern. Like, okay, as long as you don't shoot it, as long as you don't do anything, it follows that pattern. As soon as you start shooting down its smaller heads, then it starts veering towards you, but its pattern disrupts quite a bit, and I couldn't really figure out what it was doing. So I wasn't able to consistently avoid it, and I found that boss very hard. And on this first game, I fought all the bosses except for the final one without using any healing items. And then somehow on one of those tries, I just got the beautiful setup. I was spamming the fire button, and I just destroyed all of its shield heads, like, almost instantly. I don't know what happened. I frankly have no idea how that happened. I don't know if it was a glitch, if I just hit that, beautiful spot, but it just made it, it was basically an instant win at that point. The ironic thing is that in its final phase, it again reverts back to a very set pattern. And then there are other bosses, by contrast to the ones that's like, kind of hard, to this is a joke. There were bosses that I fought and beat on my first attempt before I really knew what was going on. So, there's that disconnect where it's like, are the bosses supposed to be stupidly easy? Or are they supposed to be kind of a challenge? And I don't really know. And I also don't know how much it changes from one difficulty setting to the next. Because the obnoxious thing is that in order to find out, I'd have to play the whole game on a hard difficulty. And I would be so annoyed to find out that, gee, getting through the stage is hard. And then the boss is, it's a challenge, but it's actually a lot easier by contrast. I don't know. That could be the case, and it would just drive me crazy. Excuse me. So I don't know. And then, interestingly enough, the final boss, I could say, was definitely a jump up. It was significantly harder. I could have brute forced it. I could have kept trying, I could have figured it out, because I knew I could get past the first phase. I honestly think I could get through the first 3 phases, not consistently, but I could get through them without taking damage. The fourth phase, I would have had to learn that pattern a lot better. But I do think there was a set pattern, where the spike balls were swinging in a set way, kind of like how his fireballs at first seem random, but it actually fires a fireball from this direction, this angle, every single time. And then in its longer pattern, it's just a longer pattern where it's like, from this angle, this side, this angle, this side, this angle, this side. You know, just kind of consistent change of the angle every single time. Same with the spike balls. It seems pretty random, but if you just know, I need to stand here at this time, I need to stand there at this time, you just learn the pattern. But yeah, the first game, I'm glad they made changes. You know, I'm glad that they're so happy with it, but I don't know. I just don't know that I think it probably was a significant jump in quality. I don't know if it was as monumental as I was expecting or hoping. And I think it's funny too, because Mike emphasized that replacing that random stupid unicorn boss with the bloodstained bears was a significant improvement. Because, well, there's just no random unicorn in the AVGN series. But I guess I found that somewhat ironic, because that stage itself isn't really an AVGN reference at all. when I think, let me actually bring up the world screen real quick. I mean, LJN, that's an obvious reference. Oh, it's made it all fuzzy. No, that's obnoxious. Let's see. That was D&D. Plenty of games have dragons, dungeons. That's a very common trope. Hell. Oh, I'm trying to remember. That was the random spookums, the Halloween ghost levels. That was Castlevania. That was the Sex Games one. That was an Atari episode he did. Oh man, I can't remember these two. I'm trying to remember the bosses. What were the bosses? I played too many AVGN games all in a row. They're getting mixed up. But I guess my overall point is that you could point to all these other ones as pretty clear references. The world themselves were really distinct, clear, obvious AVGN references, or at least common enough NES tropes that it's like, yeah, I recognize what they're going for there. But the Candy Time world is just this obnoxiously bright, happy world. My mindset and my understanding of that world is that it's basically just supposed to be kind of a foil or a mirror counterpart to the nerd, because he always gets so mad about these games. He's a rage gamer kind of persona. And here we have this obnoxiously bright, happy, chipper world that kicks you in the balls. You know, that very tongue-in-cheek, ho 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 ho, aren't you happy now? Kind of a thing. And so the unicorn was just, again, that sort of farting rainbow kind of a thing. That's what I thought it was going for. And so actually I find that the Bloodstained Bears, sorry, is kind of out of nowhere. I mean, you could say that they're carving through this happy, jolly world, but it's not actually really demonstrating that. So it doesn't really fit. I mean, I think if anything, since it had sort of a rainbow vibe, I don't get why they didn't put in the Wizard of Oz reference. Somewhere over the rainbow? I think that logic would have been a little bit more complete. In humble opinion, of course. I guess that could somewhat contrast with the LGN theming a little bit, but since it's a rainbow. But I don't know. I just found that these gore-riddled bears in an area that's incredibly bright and chipper just clashes. Doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion. But, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, this is something that does kind of annoy me as well. For both games is, one, I already talked about this, it doesn't show the different pickles you can get in this game. So it shows you the nerd letters, but it doesn't tell me which of the 8, I've got 5 of the 8 pickles that were found. But it doesn't tell me which ones. So it's like, why not? It also doesn't give you a clue that, hey, you found a secret character in this stage. And I like that there are 3 secret characters. That's a nice touch. I kind of enjoy that gameplay variety that wasn't quite as noticeable in the second game. But I think the contrast, I think the thing that you lose is that they can be in any stage. There's 3 of them, but then their different jumps and attributes might be useful in earlier stages. So if you want to be most efficient or find all the secrets, you have to know where to go when. Which, that's true for a lot of older games, but since this is a more modern game with a retro vibe and style and approach, but with modern gaming conventions, it would have been nice if they'd met somewhere in the middle on that. Plus, again, I think it's kind of strange that it's like it gives you the option to play as those 3 characters, But you honestly, the game is designed around the nerd, and the skeleton's jumps are so low, it actually can't make some of them. So, as far as I'm aware, playing as all of the characters in all situations isn't viable. Certainly not advised. Now, I'm sure there are people who are good enough they could play as Mike with his melee range attack, and they could beat the whole game with that. But taking down the bosses, many of whom are much more dangerous up close, that would be such an annoyance. It's, I would say, kind of a nightmare situation. Again, I know people can do it, but it just doesn't seem like that's viable in all situations. Which, again, is like, well, the point wasn't to make these 3 playable characters playable through the whole game? You know what I mean? It'd be like if Super Mario World 2, Super Mario Brothers 2 on the NES, where you can play as all 4 characters. There were characters that were designed or set up as with their strengths and weaknesses. For certain stages, they would shine. Other stages, maybe not want to play as them. But you could play each stage with each character and beat it. Now imagine if that game had been designed in a way it's like, oh, if you pick Toad on this stage, you just can't beat it. It's just not possible. And again, a little bit of an apple to orange comparison, but it does sort of annoy me a little bit. And then, oh, sorry, I gotta quit. Then on the second game, this is just the way RNG and my luck, it's not even RNG, this is just the way my luck works. There is a secret in this stage where you get one of the nerd's armaments. Does it? It doesn't show up. Okay, I'm gonna load in a random stage. Let's just go with the tutorial. Now, he starts off with the grip loafers in the tutorial. The zapper, of course, is classic nerd. He's got it the whole time. And then there are 4 additional equipment items that you can pick up to fully equip the nerd so that he's fully decked out. Which is kind of a weird choice now that I think about it. 4 random equipments against 5 worlds. And I don't technically know if this is true. But out of the different armaments I found the cape, but I need the glove of power to break the blocks to get the cape. And I just so happened to pick the wrong first world. Let me rephrase that. In order to get the glove of power, all I had to do was play the first stage of the world that I happened to pick last. It's like, are you kidding me? Of course! And what's so ironic is that it's a permanent armament. It's permanently usable, which would have completely changed how the rest of the game played. And I could have been breaking blocks the whole time. We would have opened up alternative pathways and different power-ups. And I picked the wrong world first. I don't know. I mean, it's not necessary to beat the game. It's not mandatory. It's a secret, but it does irk me. Because I could have had it from the very beginning, and I didn't have it at all until the very end. I don't know. I don't tend to like design choices like that. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And again, that's just my crap, stupid, why the hell didn't I go that way first kind of luck situations. You know what I mean? Because I had 5 directions to go, and that's not the way I went. Oh, also, I do have to admit that the second game, I do like certain attributes about it, but there were certain parts that I thought were really sloppy and messy. For instance, the way some of the audio balancing worked in the second game, a lot of the graphics for the gimmick, you know, they created these different gimmicks that would change how the game looked. A lot of times it created really just ugly backgrounds. It made for really ugly effects. So, I don't know. I have to admit, it really was aggravating when... Maybe not aggravating, but... I was really irked when there were background music. Well, there was background music playing, and then they were dumping in so many sound effects. Just sound effects, all over the place, that it completely disrupted the music. And I didn't adjust any of the audio settings in this game. I did lower the gameplay, the overall gameplay audio, so that hopefully, the gameplay audio and my voice audio will be better harmonized, balanced, so you can hear me, but also hear the gameplay, and the background music and so on. That's all I adjusted, was lowering that. But otherwise, I didn't adjust the music and the sound effects in accordance with each other. So it's just, why is it so messy? Why would you do that to your game? And I know that to an extent, the argument can be made that annoying parts of the game, parts where it's like, oh, gotcha, we kicked you in the balls, isn't that annoying? Could be that sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, tongue in cheek. Well, you're a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, right? You know the sort of stuff he complains about. You know the sort of crappy video game design that comes up in games that he hates. We just snuck a little bit, just a dash, here and there. It's intentional. You know, it's a joke. And I don't know. Part of me kind of gets it. But again, there's a certain point where it's like you could have taken it out, or you could have adjusted it, but you just left it in as is. But I guess my overall point is that intentionality buys a lot of leeway for them. It's a very convenient excuse. Because it's like, oh, I bet that was done on purpose. I could see a couple different situations like, okay, I understand, they did that on purpose. Look at the world. Was it this one? Trying to be correct. I want to say maybe it was the third level of this world. I could be wrong, but there are invisible instant-kill blocks. And so you're very carefully moving forward and navigating through the little labyrinth of invisible kill blocks. Earlier in the stage, it was introducing basically thwomps that would fall down, and if you jump up and you get hit kind of midair, it's not an instant kill death. But if you're on the ground and it crushes you, instant kill, you're dead. Doesn't matter how much health you have. So you go through this labyrinth of instant kill blocks. Then it opens up the ceiling, and there's a checkpoint not that far ahead of you. Now, do you just blindly run forward towards it? Well, I don't think you can even see it at that point, but do you just blindly run forward, even though the ceiling's opened up? Of course not. You just navigated a labyrinth of invisible death blocks. You're going to keep moving forward cautiously. And then as you do that, slam, instant kill death block. I can see that being done on purpose. And then, even after you do that, right before the checkpoint, there is instant kill death blocks. So it's like, okay, I'm going to run past. I'm just going to run right through. And then you run into the instant death blocks and you die. And it's like, okay, game, I see what you're doing. I get it. I can see that being intentional. A little dickish, but intentional. But then there are a lot of other sections where it's like, is that really intentional? Or is that just bad game design? Is that just an oversight? Is that just a mistake? You know, there's a few situations where you can kind of wink at the audience. You can wink at the game, or you can kind of have a shared laugh, and it's like, you're such an a-hole. You scamp. And it's like, yeah, I'm a jerk, I'm a dick, but come on, I'm the game maker, what do you expect? What was I thinking, you know? There's that sort of understood camaraderie, there's an understood give and take. But then, like then I think you can only cash that in a few times before it's like, no, that's just stupid. No, that's not done well. That's kind of the impression I got from this game, is that some of that was cashed in. I think they pushed that a little too far. My opinion, I know these games all have at least 90% thumbs up, they're well recommended, and I'm not saying I'm not recommending the game, but for having gone through all the effort to remaster them, combine both games in a deluxe package, and I do like that they put in a whole new area, the third area. I haven't even talked about that. I mean, I don't know, it's like if you're gonna go to so much effort and call this the deluxe version, I just don't know that leaving so much of the game design as is, with some of these just glaring flaws, and in my opinion, glaring flaws, other issues, I don't know. It just seems like some of that should have been cleaned up. And in the third area, gosh darn, I'm getting thirsty. The third section, it's pretty short. It's not a whole new game. It's just kind of a final wrapping the cord around the title together, giving a nice kind of a bow on top. You know, it's just kind of a final hurrah. I have nothing really to complain about it. I can't really say anything from the first game made its way into the second game, or the third section, really. You don't get to play as all the characters. I don't remember any of the features or attributes that clearly coming from the first game. I'm sure there were. But you also didn't get any of the armor from the second game as a useful component either. But, I don't know. What do I think about the games overall? I have to admit, having watched the video that hyped up the remake so strongly with such a general spin of like passion and like, we asked for all these changes and they remade the game and made it so much better, I have to admit it's a little disappointing. I think it's pretty good, but I don't know, I do just kind of come off of it from as like a, oh, that's it? I don't know, that's just kind of my first impressions, my initial reaction having just finished the game. And I'll be honest, I could see myself going back to the first game, I could replay some of those levels, get all the nerd letters, but here in the second game, across all these different stages, it's like, I'm not gonna go back and find the end here, you know, go back for all the letters, make sure I get a perfect clear on every stage. It's like, no way, I'm just not interested. And I think that to me isn't like a death knell, like, oh, there's a final nail in the coffin, that means I hate the game, but I just don't have a passionate interest in the game. And I have to admit, again, the bosses in the second game were kind of a similar issue to the first one, where it's like, that final boss, or this boss, stupidly easy. I found the werewolf multiple form boss kind of obnoxiously not obnoxiously difficult, but kind of obnoxious. Yeah, Scorpion, Darth Vader, yeah, not really that bad at all. The cat, not too bad. I think I got a little bit lucky, but honestly, it's the conveyor belts that are the obstacle there, obviously. What is this boss? Oh yeah, Mr. Bucket. I felt like that was kind of a non-issue, honestly. I know I didn't clear any of them perfect, so that might seem a little hypocritical, but it's like, I just don't think any of them were that bad. Except for the Castlevania one. That, to me, was the hardest. But, yeah, those are just my general thoughts. Kind of, I don't want to say mediocre, but just kind of an ambivalent feel about the games overall. Just kind of a, they're okay. They're not that long, unless you kind of old school gamer mindset where it's like, I'm gonna play the game to death to get all the secrets and do all this and do all that. It's like, yeah, I'm good. You know? Or play on the harder difficulties, you know, challenge myself. Like, nah, I'm good. You know, I'm content where I am. But, yeah, that's my Let's Play. Those are my overall thoughts. I guess it's gonna be all for now. And I have to admit, even though this game was a little bit disappointing, I am at least happy that I've recorded a video game playthrough where it's like, I'm not banging my head in frustration the entire time. It's like, no! It's like, well, you know, some frustrating parts, but I actually like the game. You know, I enjoyed it. I played it and I beat it, and there wasn't ever any point where it's like, oh, am I gonna finish this game? I don't know. It's like, oh no, I beat it. No problem. But anyways, I'll see you around later, folks, whatever game I go into next. Hope you enjoyed. I should have been waving the entire time as I said that. I'll see you around later, folks. And as always, friend Doggy. The Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. Pfft, more like number 2 Deluxe, because this is craptacular. Last time I saw this much fecal matter, I went through a tour of a fertilizer factory. This game is bull crap!